Well, the Lions is back, and it was awesome, Coley. I was so excited for this evening. We've been speaking about it for months on end, debating, and it's finally here. I thought the Aviva looked awesome. So many red shirts. Unfortunately, the Lions lost 28-24, but I thought it was a cracking game. It was exactly what they needed. They got the hit out. Loads of players got exposure. The kit looked awesome. You can see everyone's excited for it. Credit to Argentina. What was your thoughts, Coley?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm sure they'll be happy with the hit out. It's been that first game. It's a competitive game, but it's a warm up. But it's one that you kind of needed to get out of the way. I think some of the players really stepped up. I thought, and others have got some work to do. But that's enough about Sky commentary. Let's talk about the Lions.
Outstanding from you. Oh, right, let's talk about the positive about the game then, Coley. That's well played from you.
Thank you.
Let's go into the game. Let's talk about the game. What are the positives?
Well, positives are...
Because there was lots, I think.
Argentina, scrap for everything. We'll get to them in a bit. But for the Lions, you could see what they're trying to do. I think they're very sort of bit like Ireland when they exit the first half. Like straight away, the first kick-off, they didn't play any phases. Mitchell bangs it back. They're going competitive in the air. So they're getting out of their half minimal phases. But you can see when they get a turnover, they're trying to move the ball to an edge. They're playing multi-phase in the opposition half. And which I think, again, we probably might touch on this later on, but I think the multi-phase is probably you're trying to fast track their way into getting everyone comfortable on the ball and doing that stuff. And then you could see some of the work when they're dropouts and stuff like that. They were pulling in special moves, which the Ireland team do really well. So I think as a whole, be really not angry, but you'd be frustrated that you lost the game because there was a couple of sort of Argentina moments of brilliance that were 2 tries, before half time, which is a bit of a sort of turnover. Argentina go the length, and that awesome try Argentina scored. But our Lions, we said it'd be clunky. I think it was. I thought Argentina looked more cohesive, ball in hand, and Lions. There was just bits like guys overrunning. If you watch it back, there's probably a couple of forward passes that maybe aren't called, but it's just guys running in front of, they're running short lines, but they're just half a yard off, which you give it a game or two, another couple of weeks training, and those things will be nailed and they'll be spot on, and then you'll be putting people for a hole. So I think, for the Lions, they'll be glad to get out of the way. It's clunky, it's first hit out, but you'd be frustrated the fact you lost the game. What were your thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, not too dissimilar, Coley. I think they'll be, first and foremost, they've got a game under their belts, right? They've got footage to look at. They've got things to review. They've got combinations that look good. They've got combinations that maybe need a bit more work. They've got an idea of how they want to play. And as you say, Coley, there was definite elements where they're trying to fast track that. And I think there was moments tonight where, as players, they're almost trying to be selfless in the way they're trying to play. You saw how quickly they get the ball to the edge, for instance, where other times you're thinking, like, just give us some dent. And that will eventually come, I'm sure of it. I think it got mentioned post-game, actually, from Maro, saying that perhaps they could have been a bit more direct at times. And I'd agree with that. But equally, I know that when you're trying to fast-track a system and a philosophy, you're going to push it a little bit more towards the playing-wise rather than the direct route. I liked how they got out of their half. They're efficient. That was very Ireland-esque. Any turnovers from that, a big shout out to Tommy Freeman. I thought he had an outstanding game. I thought he had another absolute cracker, looked really lively, very threatening. But as soon as they got that turnover, did you notice, Cole, just how quickly they tried to get to the far edge? So, when we talk about that arrowhead off 9, so you'd have that pod of 3 forwards, very often, mate, those 3 forwards would run and it'd be zipped straight behind their back, straight to 10, almost pivot past. Try and get into the middle of the field as quickly as possible, then beat them same way, or go to that open edge. So things like that, you could see what they were trying to do. I was really impressed with the strikes. You could see that was very Ireland-esque in some of their movements. When I talk about strikes, for the listeners, I'm talking about like line-out plays, set plays, so off scrums, off line-outs, where everyone's got specific roles in terms of if it's a 5-man, 4-man, 7-man, and all these little patterns. And there's sort of 3 phase setups where you're trying to catch your opposition out. But you alluded to it nicely, Coley, even on some of those strikes, and you could see what they were trying to do. They did a great one. First half, line out, came off the top. It looked like they were kind of going to maul. Nine was at the front of the line out. Mitchell got out, played Aku, then sort of whipped it back inside to 9 coming around the loop. Unfortunately, he's kind of got slapped down in the tackle from the Argentina player, but just like a yard of depth on that, and you could see exactly what they're doing. There was a number of, 2 or 3 options on that shape alone. When Thomas Williams came on and Tyg Burns scored that try, again, you could see the strike on that, Coley. Hit the midfield, mate. They came back, they hit Genji up, didn't they? Made a cracking break, and then after they got line break, it's all bets are off. But great ball from Thomas Williams. You could see all 3 runners really promoting on that. Maro does really well, actually, to leave that ball for Tyg Burn and hitting that gap on the outside. So there was lots of positives. As I say, the strikes, the ball movement, and I think the clunkiness, as you said, Coley, with the running lines, with a little bit of getting it to edge clunkiness, that's just natural. Like, it's nothing to worry about. But what I was really pleased about is the fact that you could already see what they were trying to do, and I think that's the main thing. Could you identify what they were trying to do? And I could say, yeah, I can see what they're trying to do within the shape. And I think the next layer on, as they carry on, they'll probably push that shape a bit longer. And as it evolves, they'll be a bit more direct. And I think some of the directness comes, and I'd like to know your thoughts on this, Coley. Although you've got 2 brilliantly powerful centres, actually, when you need to be direct within that multi-phase shape, you're actually dependent on forwards within that shape. So Genji got through some huge amount of work. All of them got through some great work, but you probably just missed that sort of Jack Conan, your Kalen Dorises, of course, who's out injured, but that out and out 8, who's a bit more different to sort of to 3 sevens playing in the back row, that can kind of give you that punch. Now, people will say, well, you got centres to do that. Yes, you have off strikes, but of multi-phase, I just think that's probably, there was a lot of work that fell on almost Ellis Genge's lap, and he did awesome, right? But I think that's probably, as they look to move forward, is how do they get a bit more punch out of their forwards, and to do so, they probably just need to get that balance of the back row a bit different, or the pack maybe.
Yes, Ben, I agree with you. I think, there was a lot of talk before the game about Tuipulotu and Aki playing together in the centres and being powerful, but and they can distribute. But, I think not all, the entire game, the forwards have to carry the ball. I think probably in today's game, the option was to play out the back and get people comfortable in shape, because, to say, if the listeners are listening, the easy thing to do would be just carry a ball off 9. And it's probably, then you get to the first test and you're like, you need to pull out the back, and no one's done it for 6 games. So then you panic. Whereas, like, if you pull everything out of the back now, when you get to the first test, it's easy. You've got decisions, and people are comfortable making decisions on the ball, whether it's carry or out the back, which, say, will give those decisions will become easier the more you do them. And I think that's what, when you get to test teams, that's where punch will come from. Because I think yesterday the option was to go probably straight out the back, which is just getting people into shape. I think the forwards wise, yes, I agree. It'd be interesting to see the balance. I think there are times when Genji carried the ball a lot, which is great at, but you need other people to. I think Tom Curry got through a lot of work, but then it's kind of, Curry was probably, I know Ben Earl carried the ball a bit as well, but Curry's probably your main carrier, whereas if you had a dedicated 8 to carry, he would get those carries, and Curry would have the sort of secondary auxiliary carries, which he's really good at as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting, the balance, and that also feeds into a bit of the, me being a boring set piece guy, the line out. I think Argentina they've got Gonzalez who plays at Sarries, and if you see how high they can throw that bloke, they literally catch him on his ankles. He's about 6'6". They throw catch him on his ankles, and he's a tough guy to throw around. But I think Lions, there's a couple of errors probably in their line out, which is again going to come because of the clunkiness I've said, which cost them set piece. And when they got it right, the maul was really effective and scored off the back of it. But it will be those kind of fixes when you've got the back row will be probably, you need to think a bit more about the line. Yeah, the Lions have to think a bit more about their line out, because you can't just go, oh, we'll stick in this 6'6" beanpole who can catch the ball because they haven't got one. So they have to think about that, but then not detract from how they play around the field. So yeah, it was, I think, a lot of the stuff we thought about beforehand and previewed when we saw the squads, when we saw the teams, we saw today, and none of it is not fixable. It's all fixable. Something's going to take some time. It'll take hard work, but the fact that what we saw today was a great start, I think it's real positive. You saw how the Lions want to play. They want to attack. They want to go at teams. And once those combinations click, I think, yeah, it's going to be the Lions are going to take some stopping.
There'll be no panic at all. I think, if anything, it was the perfect game. I thought Argentina were really, really good. And they pushed the Lions, and it sets them up brilliantly. as I say, a tough game, narrowly lost, but they won't worry about that. As I say, it's about getting minutes, it's about getting cohesion, it's about getting footage, it's about layering on what they want to do. So just coming back to the attack points of view, just to sort of summarise with the strikes and the attack and everything like that, you obviously got Andrew Goodman there doing the attack, you've got Johnny Sexton helping in, and you look at the Lions stats, for instance, and I'll just chuck them out here. So passes, Lions threw 233 passes, that's a lot of passes. Argentina threw 105. When you talk about ball carries, Argentina had 94 ball carries, Lions had 150, which is perfect. Like you say, it married, those stats marry in exactly what we saw, exactly what we've spoken about, Coley, is they're gonna push it the way that they're trying to fast track this sort of Ireland blueprint. So therefore they're gonna go more phases, they're gonna go more passes, they're gonna go more carries. And I think, like you said, Coley, nothing that we saw isn't fixable. And just adding that bit of directness, in the middle of the pitch, through multi-phase, through our forward carries, easy fix, can be easily done. But it wouldn't surprise me if we kind of see those stats again when they play the Western Force, if we see it again, and then as they get closer to test match, it kind of then comes down a little bit more. Do you know what I mean, Coley?
Well, you sharpen the knife a bit more. I say you then you realise who your carriers are, where you can get advantage, and then you have to go dent a team like Australia to then play to width rather than just try and play to width straight away. But yeah, as you say, I think it was interesting. What I found quite interesting was the first try, Lions' first try, Bundy Aki scores. I think because Marcus actually plays out the back of the pod, and then Finn Smith is in a bit of a wider channel and he easily offloads it to Aki. And I thought just watching him, watching both Smiths having the ability to play 10, they're out the back, get Finn Smith into wider channels, combined with Aki into a plotter, there's a lot of movement there. And I think in some regards, if Lions get that right, it's going to be very hard to defend because you've got guys constantly moving parts. Everyone can step in, step out, and you can't just focus on one bloke out the back of stuff. Say you can't just focus on the 10 because when you're pinning the 10 to the floor, there's a 15 stepping up, or a 12 or a 13. Now again, there's that balance of we're all trying to pass. At some point, someone's going to just carry the ball, but that again will come with getting those combinations right. People know what they're doing and doing it on the field. And I thought it was quite, just for me, that interesting seeing Marcus play 10 and Finn wider channels. It just gives you possibilities and options of what the Lions could potentially, what they're looking to do, put it that way, not so much to be so structured in there who's playing where.
Argentina do a goal line dropout, second half, and they run that 4-man arrowhead. So again, we've spoken lots on this podcast before, but it was very, again, I keep saying it, but Ireland-esque, it had Ireland blueprint all over. So I think Marcus caught it, gave it to Ben Earl, who sort of just got to left side of post in terms of that first attacking breakdown, set it up there almost like a set-up play. And then they go to a pod of 3 forwards, but actually your centre, I think it was Aki, was your third guy on that shape. And then you have a fourth, which was your lead. It went across all the way to Aki, and he played short, and unfortunately they dropped it, but he was through a massive hole. And again, that's just a nice shape. We've seen Ireland do it plenty of times, and they'll just naturally improve on that. One thing I do want to ask though, Coley, again, talking all things positive, I thought the scrum looked really, really strong for the Lions. I thought the scrum got parity over Argentina, which are renowned scrummers. And I know that Argentina are missing some of their front line scrummagers. But that's a positive because set piece is going to be key. And it's an area that undoubtedly Lions will want to take Australia on at.
Oh, I think, today, Genji had the upper hand against Scalvi, and Beelum did a good job against Vivas on the loose head. So it'll be, the only thing with against scrum dominance is, you need to then, when you kick the ball further down the field, like the line out, that also has to function. They kind of work hand in hand. But yeah, no, they'll be happy with that line out. They'll be happy with the scrum dominance because, yeah, obviously, ultimately it gets your penalties and gets your field position. And, it's just all the Lions and their maul. If you get that roll in, it's effective. But yeah, I think you will be happy with that, especially considering you probably wouldn't say the Lions have picked a team to scrummage. So if you can get scrum dominance, it's going to only add to what you can do.
Colin, we've got to credit Argentina because they played some great stuff. And, given that they didn't have everyone available, once again, they showed what a great rugby nation they are.
Definitely, Ben. I think, we spoke before in the lead up to this game, Argentina missed a lot of their senior internationals playing in France and stuff like that. And no, you could see from minute one when the Lions kicked on the ball, they sort of played a few phases inside their own half. They weren't at any sort of point overawed by, not as they would be overawed by the occasion, but, they went about their business. They obviously had a plan and they set out and they did it, and credit to them. They weren't there to just sort of, entertain the Lions. They weren't there to sort of go, oh, we're missing a few players. It doesn't matter if we go behind. No, they came up and they, they went at it, and credit to them, they won the game. They took their opportunities. Yes, there were a couple of opportunistic tries, but you get them on the back of having skillful players that are able to execute them. And the rest of the time they dug in. We saw the Lions had, over 150 carries, whatever it was, and Argentina kept hitting them, competing. And, I had to give a massive shout out to our good friend Julian Montoya, who played the full 80. I could see he was slightly frustrated with some of the referees' calls. You could hear him on the ref mic and flapping his arms around, but hell, he had some game. And yeah, I think he epitomised what Argentina did, just dogging us, going at them constantly. I will say, right, give me 30 seconds. There's a bit in about, I think it's about 67th minute. I think Pollock strips the ball from the Argentinian, for the Argentinian carrier. And Montoya, if anyone's watching, go back and watch this bit. It's, I think 6-7 minutes. Also watch 2 minutes from the end. But like Montoya's, it looks like the Lions can just play back to Finn Smith to kick the ball. And Montoya's on the blind side of the ruck. And he could just give up. But the fact he runs and like Finn Smith steps back inside and then Julian chops him, you're like, that's such an effort play. And you watch Julian Montoya and he's all about effort. I think it's 79th minute of the game. Lions kick the ball in the air. Montoya's the one. Freeman catches it, steps the first bloke. The second bloke, clearing up, basically tackling by shoelaces in the 79th minute of a test match is Montoya. So any kids out there or any players out there, just if you watch that game on record, go back, just watch Julian Montoya and what he does. And he's just 100% effort all the time. Yes, he's incredibly skillful and can jackal the ball and the rest of it. But if you had a team of guys like that can give that amount of effort, you'd go very far in life, put it that way, Ben.
Coley, and he epitomised Argentina, didn't he? Just fight for everything. And some of the, that try just before half time, it's just through hustle. Like scrappy, the ball comes out, they pick it up, they make it work, and they do that. But he is, Coley, and you're right. He's one of the best captains I've played under. And so much of it is, yes, he speaks well and everything like that, but it's actions. It's always actions first. And he had a terrific game. Bearing in mind, he played in a final only on Saturday. Had a final for his club, played his last game for his club. All that, emotion, everything like that, dealing with all that, flying up, meeting on Sunday and go perform like that.
Seeing the family 10 minutes, flies out because he's captain, he has to be there. And that's what he does. He gets there Sunday, whatever it is, and he's straight into the test match. So, yeah, incredible, man. And to say that's, I'm pleased, although I'm sad the Lions lost, I'm very pleased for him because he thoroughly deserves it. And, it was, I'd say the Argentina, they were, they took their chances, and that ended up being the game, didn't it, really?
Yeah, well, I think if anyone doesn't take Argentina seriously, don't know their rugby, mate. They've taken some huge scalps, for the last number of years, mate, and they continue to grow and grow. In terms of that work rate and everything like that, again, with the Lions having so much of the ball, the amount of pass, we spoke about 150 carries, huge amount of work. Get this one, right? Rodrigo Isco made 17 tackles and got 4 turnovers, the most of any other player. He's a winger, just to let everyone know. That's a winger. So incredible effort from him, but they had to be. And that you almost, they just hustled for everything. Absolutely hustled for everything. And it was, like I say, I think it was the perfect game for the Lions to play. And I saw sort of Elliot's daily, you could see in the huddle speaking after, and there'll be no panic. It's just, they've all got a hit out. They'll all be better for it. Yes, they'd like to have won. But I think, credit to Argentina coming to the Aviva where you could very much feel like, you're part of this carnival sort of party atmosphere and you're just there to make up the numbers. And they certainly weren't. And I just love how they attacked the game. But equally, I love what I saw from the Lions in many ways. And you can see that the style that they're going to play and the Lions team that we saw tonight to what we're going to see, after 3 or 4 weeks, it's going to be a hell of a team, mate. I was impressed with Argentina, but equally I was really pleased with some of the bits that I saw from the Lions, and it got me excited about where you can see that they're going to try and go with it.
This episode of The For Love of Rugby is brought to you in partnership with Saily, a new eSIM service app brought from the creators of NordVPN.
Now that we're retiring, Coley, we can go on holiday. And more importantly, not worry about being back for pre-season in good shape.
That's right, Ben. I can't wait for my European tour of culture and history.
But how am I going to be able to watch rugby when I'm away? There's never any Wi-Fi and it's extortionate to use roaming fees.
That's where Saily saves the day. Before you leave the UK, just open up the Saily app and you can buy affordable data for the destination you go into. They offer different packages and that can be up to 10 times cheaper than your roaming fees.
Sounds good. Tell me more.
Well, Saily offers a safe and secure internet connection in over 200 destinations and it includes 24/7 support. You can watch rugby to your heart's content and you can simply switch your device's virtual location to access apps and content from back home.
So Saily saves me money, provides me a safe internet connection, and I can watch rugby by the pool on holiday. What's not to love?
To try it out for yourself, you can download Saily in the App Store and use the code FTLOR at checkout to get an exclusive 15% off your first purchase. Full details are in the episode description. Ben, we have to give a Thatchers gold moment, and I think it has to be Argentina's wonderful third try, doesn't it?
Oh, it's a cracker. It is an absolute cracker. All starts from Albanos. Curry puts him under kick pressure, which you'd expect from any back rower, really trying to hustle him. Steps inside. Pollock's flat-footed. He shrugs him off. He goes through. And then actually it's amazing how many Argentina shirts are flooding that off a line break. He could have passed it inside. Said he goes left. They go 2 passes. Give it to Maroney. Of course, our old teammate. He then puts a lovely weighted kick into the corner. Mark Smith's coming across, bless him. It's a foot race. And Cordero, like all good wingers, mate, flat out dots it down. But it's just a great try. And I think the skill execution of, recognising he's not going to get kick away. So he jumps off his left foot, the handoff. Then he breaks the speed to actually then accelerate back through the gap. The then lovely little hands goes left twice. Then Maroney realising that, okay, I can pass it left, or I'm going to put it into the space and let him finish it and give him something to chase. I just thought that was, for me, my Thatcher's gold moment.
I agree, Ben. It also came a bit against the run of play. I think the Lions had some real momentum at that point. I think Argentina tried to exit in. They kicked the ball, got it back, had a breakdown that kind of was a bit messy, and then literally, they say 9 plays to Albanos, and he almost gets charged down, but then steps back inside. You say Pollock, I think, gets caught flat-footed, misses the tackle, and away they go. I think it shows you how much it's not to slag Pollock off, but international rugby, all those just one moments of just a missed tackle can cost you 60 minutes and cost you a try. It's such a that's the fine margin, such a mad thing, isn't it? Like one knock on can cost you at the other end of the field, and it's just, that's what makes rugby so brilliant, yet so tough sometimes.
It is ruthless, Coley. Like, it highlights how ruthless test level is, but I think it also highlighted just the difference in cohesion. So Argentina make a little line break there, and they're able to almost read each other and know exactly what to do. And the Lions are probably 2 more games away from being able to do that. Maybe 3 games, 3 or 4. And that was the difference, really, just that cohesion in those moments, which you'd expect Argentina to have, and the Lions will get there.
But there's a bit where Freeman makes Freeman again, outstanding. But
yes.
He, second half, I think, makes a break, and it's just, you can see he's kind of like, if that's another game, and that's another couple of weeks, if he's at Northampton, he gives it to I think there's a couple of guys on his right, but he ends up stepping inside because he's just not used to that, the people who are calling it or passing it to, whatever it is. And I think that those kind of things will stick, or those things will, give it a week, 2 weeks, time test comes around, those kind of movements we saw from Argentina tonight, the Lions will be pulling off and, scoring points in the back of.
Yeah, Coley, that is almost the perfect example between the two, isn't it? Argentina have the cohesion just to be able to pick it off and score because they know each other so well. And Tommy Freeman goes through on a short boy of Thomas Williams. He then looks, and Thomas Williams runs a lovely arc on the right-hand side of him. All he has to do is sort of give it, but he steps inside. And that's the little bits that will come in the next couple of weeks. The next, on the training pitch, having looked at footage, through more games, and more combinations. So look, there's plenty of positives about the performance, and you could really see what they're trying to do and where they want to go to and the team that they want to be. So, I enjoyed it. The Lions is underway. It's been a long way, and I'm ready for it. It's great to see it, and great to see like an unbelievable crowd as well. I think the fact they get to play a game on home nation soil before flying out there, I think that's a brilliant thing. I think it's an absolutely fantastic thing that they do that.
I totally agree.
But do you want to epitomise it? The amount of red shirts you saw, Coley, and all these players from England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, all getting the same amount of cheers. Like, it brings everyone together. I dare say that was probably, 80% full of Irish, I'd say the game was, I'm guessing. I could be wrong. But a majority of people be Irish. And they're just cheering for every single Lions player. And that, for me, epitomised the Lions. Just everyone's in it. And I love that. Owen Farrell popped up on screen. And do you know what I loved? He got a huge reception. I could hear it on the telly, like the cheer he got. And rightly so. Like a Lions legend, an icon of the game, an English legend. Like, brilliant to see him get that reception. But I just loved it that they played on a home nation soil at the Aviva, everyone wearing red shirts, and every single player getting that incredible reception, because everyone's in it. You're recognised as a Lion. You're recognised as someone that's absolutely, reaching the pinnacle, and everyone's buying in. And that's what makes it so unique. It makes it so unique. I mean, tell me another time as any of those other nations, you're running in the Aviva and you get a cheer like that. It just doesn't happen. And I love that.
I think overall it's been the perfect game for the Lions, apart from obviously the result. But I think, you look at the team they played against, Argentina, they probably, as we said before, marry up to Contepone, has been coached Leinster under Schmidt, who coaches Australia, who coach Farrell. So they're all kind of like those three teams all play in a similar way. So I think it prepares the Lions well for what they're going to face in Australia. And I think it gives those guys all, just the guys that played tonight, it gives them that first hit out as a team. They will now know what to expect, playing against an Australia, and how they have to be direct, and how they have to sort of, when there's opportunities to move, they'll come, and that cohesion will come. So I think, it's the perfect game tonight. Take the result aside, I think the Lions will be happy. And also, finally, if Lions win the Test series, no one cares about this result, do they?
No,
you know what I mean? Like, you do now, and you want this. You want the tour to win every game. You want the tour to be as successful as possible. But ultimately, you win the Test series. Who cares?
Yeah, and you want the games to be tough. And actually, that just ties in nicely. Before we round it up, Coley, is I did see that Joe Schmidt has released players back to the Western Force from his Australian squad to play against the Lions, and I think that's really important. Not every Lions series that's always happened. Sometimes the team they're playing against, they retain all their players, and you play against the club and they haven't got their best players out. You've seen South Africa do it in the last tour that they went to. So I think that's brilliant that they're doing that. Sets that up nicely. And there you go. So if you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening on Spotify, please leave us a lovely comment and tell us your thoughts. What was your thoughts on the game? What did you enjoy? And how happy are you to see the Lions up and running?
We're back on Monday with Tom Youngs, and that's a great episode. So see you then.
See you then. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.